Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, hi, I'm Erin. If you're returning, thanks for clicking on another video. Today we're going to be getting into my April TBR, and this time I wanted to do something a little bit different, a little bit fun with picking my books for this month. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a random generator type of thing, not really, random picking of books for this TBR. I do have a couple that are kind of moving on from March that I didn't get to, but I wanted to have a little fun. Now, a TBR is my to be read, so it doesn't mean that, or to be expected to be read, basically. It doesn't mean that I'm absolutely going to read these books, but this is my goal for the month, and I like to have this little bit of a structure because sometimes, if I don't, it will be a really good excuse to not read at all. But sometimes I end up reading books that are not on the TBR. It just depends on my mood. I'm kind of a mood reader, but I also love to have the TBR. I love to have a list there just to encourage me to pick up the books, and it kind of gives me a viewpoint, like a vantage point, like my goal here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the video for today. If you enjoy videos like this, then you're in the right place. I do book content here on my channel here and there. I also do makeup videos, which I just filmed this look, and I also do movie content as well. I love watching movies, first time reactions, or just reviewing them in general. If you enjoy content like that, then don't forget to subscribe down below. Hit the like button for this video if you enjoy it by the end. And without further talking, let's go ahead and hop into the video. So let's hop on to it. I will explain to you guys the little game I came up with. I wanted to do something, just a little bit more interesting to pick my books this month instead of me just picking them off the shelf. And I've seen lots of people doing like, Wordle picks my books I'm reading, or the titles, or, TBR games or board games where they're picking their books based on the game that they're playing. And so I was like, that's so fun. But I don't have the time to come up with a whole game right now. So I just decided to come up with a couple prompts that are going to match with a deck of cards. And so I'm going to be using my Nightmare on Elm Street cards, of course. I mean, why not? And I'm going to shuffle the cards for each round, and for each of the different numbers and or face cards that I can get, there's going to be a prompt that goes with it. Oh gosh, I just dropped the box. The suit of the card, it doesn't really matter for this case, although I think that will be fun for future videos, like having something different for each suit and number, and that could give me a lot more choices. But for now, it's just if I get like a 1, I will look at number 1 and see what that prompt is. Then I have to pick a book that matches that. Or if I get a king, any king from any suit, then I have to look at the prompt for the king and pick something off of my shelf or library, etc., etc. So with that being said, we're going to shuffle the cards for each round, and we're going to pick a random card, and then I'll either find a book off of my shelf and or one from the library that will match the prompt that I have here. So I'll read the prompts very, very quickly, and then we'll hop into it. So or maybe we should just do it random. Now let's read the prompts. So ace is read a classic. If I get a 1, read off the shelf, something off the shelf, and I did that twice actually. 1 and 7 are off the shelf because I do want to read more books off my shelf. 2 is a horror novel. 3, Nude of Me Arthur. 4, nonfiction. 5, poetry. 6 is a romance book. 7, off the shelf, like I already mentioned. 8 will be a historical fiction. 9 will be sci-fi. 10 will be a book with a cool cover. 11 will be a book of the month book because I need to get through those. 12 will be a book in a series, and then the jack will be a book with my initials in the title. I want to do a couple hard ones. Queen will be a book with a red cover, and King will be a book published in my birth year. So some of those are a little difficult, but that's the way to spice it up. So let's go ahead and shuffle the cards, and then we'll pick a card out of the deck. I'm okay with shuffling, not the best, but do what you do, right? So I'll shuffle it a couple times, and then we'll just pick one off the top. Okay, first card. Oh, it's a 6. Okay, that's, romance book. Okay, awesome. So I'll put that to the side. I think I'm going to pick, since I already have 2 books here, and also I'm probably sure I'm going to read one nonfiction book on audiobook. Probably. We'll see. But yes, I already have 2 books, so I'll probably pick maybe like 3 or 4 cards. Okay, let's go. Oh, some of the cards are facing me. That's not good. Okay, let's shuffle them again. The next card. Okay. Queen. Okay, Queen. A book with a red cover. Oh, okay. Book with a red cover. Okay. I think we can do that. All right, I'm gonna just kind of move them around. Keep it real random. King. Oh gosh. Book published in my birth year. Oh god, that's gonna be... Okay. I think I can find one. And then let's do one more because I don't want to make this too long of a TBR. That's one of my issues here. I do have spring break in April though. And I have a lot more time to read, obviously. Let's do two more. Let's spice it up. We can do a hefty TBR. That's okay. Okay, next card is a 4 nonfiction. Perfect, because I was going to do a nonfiction anyways. Awesome, nonfiction. And we'll do one more card because, like I said, don't want to have too many things going here. Okay, a 2 horror novel. Right up my alley. Okay, so I'm gonna go pick some books and or look on the Libby app or any of my reading apps. I have a whole bunch of them: Audible, Scribd, and Libby at this point, and also on the Kindle app as well, and also off my shelf, of course. And I'll come back with the books that I'm going to be reading. Be right back. Alright, you guys, let me go ahead and share the books that I'm going to be anticipating to read in April. And now I'm like super excited for this, and hopefully I get through most of these books. But I do have 2 books that are rolling over from March, so let me go ahead and show those first. The first one is Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. This is actually a book of the month book, and actually this is rolling over from February. I didn't read it February, and then I rolled it over to March, and I didn't read it March. March, it's been kind of rough, even though this is a longer month, but that's actually even worse than February because it's been the longest month for me at my job. It's felt like this month has been going forever, and it's the most tiring month of the year, every single year, for teachers, at least in my opinion, in my experience. But I figured I would read more in March, which I think I'm going to surpass my number of books I've read in February. Like, it's not like, you know, a competition or anything, but I did want to read more, at least more than I did in February. But I'm currently tied for the books of amount I read in February to March. And so I'm currently listening to the audiobook of The Hobbit. I'm definitely probably going to finish that before the end of March. As I am filming now, there's still a week left in March. I was going to start this one as my physical copy because I do like an audiobook, a physical copy, and like a Kindle book. You know, it depends on how I'm feeling at the moment or if I'm in a reading slump. But I usually do have at least one audiobook and a physical book. So I was going to be starting this and hoping to finish it still in March. So you may see this in my March wrap up, or you may see it in my April wrap up. So I'm just mentioning it here because I still do want to read this one, and I still do want to get some more of my book of the month books read. The other one is this one, Mistborn. It's rolling over from March because I just didn't have time to read it, and I know I won't finish this in the week that I have left of March, especially because I want to read this other book and also finish my audiobook of The Hobbit. So I just know I probably won't have time to even start this one. So I'm definitely going to probably be reading this one in April, and this is a chunky one, so spring break's going to help out with that, to have some extra time to read some of these books. And also sometimes with these chunkier ones, I'll listen to the audiobook at some points, and I'll do the physical copy, but I can't find the audiobook for this at all. I don't know if it has one, so I'll definitely have to read this one all in the physical book, which I love physical books, my favorite medium, but audiobooks have been helping me out a lot with finishing some of these thicker ones. So I'll definitely have more time for this in April. So those are the 2 that are rolling over. Now let's get into the ones that were picked from my cards. Number 6 was Off Your Shelf, and that was one of the cards I pulled, but it kind of was overlapping with some of the other cards, so I ended up kind of mixing 6 with a couple other prompts. So I'll set that one to the side because a few of these books are off of my shelf, so I figured that would count for number 6. Hopefully you guys don't think that's cheating. But my other one I picked was Queen, which was a book with a red cover, and this book happens to be off my shelf, and it has a red cover, and it also happens to be a book of the month, and that is The Maid by Nita Prose. And this is one that I got as like an add-on to one of my books of the month for this year, and I was excited for this one. So it has the red cover, and it's also off my shelf, so it kind of matches for 2 of my card picks, the number 6, which was off the shelf, and the Queen, which was book with the red cover. And so this book, we're following Molly Gray, who is not like everyone else. She struggles with social skills and misreads the intentions of others, and basically She's navigating life all by herself, and she throws herself into her work as a hotel maid when suddenly someone comes up dead, and she's got to she quickly finds herself in a web of deception. One she has no idea how to untangle. Fortunately for Molly, friends she never knew she had unite with her in search for clues of what really happened to this man who ends up dead. And this man is kind of an infamous man, a wealthy man, and she doesn't want to be the one that is, accused of killing this man. It's almost like a bit of a Clue type situation here. That synopsis was probably terrible. I was kind of skimming it and giving you the gist of the story. Basically, this woman works as a maid. She finds one of her wealthy, customers, I guess, one of the wealthy guests at the hotel dead, and she has to find the clues and find the killer before, she's the one that's accused of it or she gets in trouble. So I'm excited for this one. It seems like a bit of a thriller mystery type of thing, and I do love a thrill. Yes, thrills and chills. So that one is going for the red cover, and also it's off my shelf. But I also have this one that's off my shelf, and it matches with my King I pulled, which is a book that was published in your birth year. And so this book, this took me a while to find. This was the longest one to find, a book published in my birth year. I thought it would be a little bit easier. First, I looked through all of my like point horror and like Fear Street, because a lot of those books were published in 1994, but I didn't want to read any that I have read recently, so that kind of limited me. And so I decided to go ahead and look around at some other shelves, and I looked on my Stephen King shelf, and I was like, I know he's published like a book almost every year, so I knew there had to be at least one from 1994. I recently, not too long ago, bought this book. I bought it twice on accident, 2 different times, but I looked and I was like, well, maybe Insomnia is published in 1994, and it's also a book that I want to reread. It's a reread for me. I read it in high school, and I've been wanting to reread it for a while. So it is definitely published, copyright 1994. So that's perfect, my birth year. And it's one I'm also excited to get back into because I've read it before, wanted to reread it because I'm quite hazy on it, but I remember really, really liking this book. So it's going to match for one of my challenges in my reading journal, and also for my card I pulled. So Insomnia is following this guy that obviously has insomnia, and a lot of crazy things start happening around him. So I'm super excited to get into this one. I vaguely remember the plot of it. It's a hefty one, you guys. It has like 700 pages, but I do remember reading this one in high school, so I'm sure it'll be fine, All right, the last 2 books just so happen to be books I've already picked up from the library, and I was going to read them at some point. And so they happened to fit 2 of the cards I pulled, which was quite lucky. And so number 2, I pulled a number 2, and that is a horror novel. And I just so happened to pick up this book from the library, which is The Final Girls by Riley Sager. Is this a horror novel? I just thought about this. I don't know if this is actually horror or if it's thriller. Let me look it up. All right, you guys, I just looked it up because I've just thought about it. I didn't know if it was a horror book or not, just because it says Final Girls. But it does say in like the tag on Goodreads that it's thriller mystery is first, and then horror is like tagged third. So it's probably less horror and more thriller. But I'm going to count it because it has the word Final Girls in it, and like that's clearly a horror trope. And it does have horror in one of the tags. So somebody considered this a horror book. It must have horror elements, so I'm going to count it. Plus I have Insomnia in here, and that's technically a horror book as well. I could have just picked that book for 2 of my cards, but I didn't want to like cheat too much. I already had 6 as kind of, a book for the red cover, so I wanted to pick another book, and I just so happened to have this book from the library. So this is going to be my horror pick, The Final Girls from Riley Sager. And I don't know if this book has that many great reviews, but I'll decide for myself. So basically, we're following this college student, Quincy Carpenter, who went on vacation with 5 friends and came back alone, the only survivor of a horror movie scale massacre. And in an instant, she became a member of the club of no one wants to belong to, a group of similar survivors known in the press as the Final Girls. Lisa, who lost 9 sorority sisters to a college dropout, Snipe, Sam, who went up against the sack man during her shift at the night inn, and now Quincy, who ran bleeding through the woods to escape Pine Cottage, and the man she refuses refers to only as him. Basically, all these girls are final girls, and they've survived some sort of massacre or attack or killing, and they all kind of, you know, are working through it and trying to survive through the traumas of that. And that is until Lisa, the first final girl, is found dead in her bathtub, wrist slit, and Sam the second appears on Quincy's doorstep. So basically, they ended up, you know, getting killed or dying. I don't know if they're getting killed, but dying. And so there's like a little bit of a mystery thriller type of thing that's happening here. Super excited for this one. Definitely has, you know, the final girl trope in it, which I love. And so I'm excited for that one. And then my last card I pulled was a number 4, which was on, wait. Oh, I am tripping, y'all. Number 6 is a romance book. No wonder I still have this. I still have 5 books. Okay, so I did not pull off your shelf. That is 7. I can't read. Number 6 is a romance book. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so my romance pick is this one from Harlequin. I used to read these books so much when I was a bit younger. But this one I got from the library. And for my romance pick, for card number 6, I'm doing this one, and it's in Spanish because I want to be, you know, practicing my reading in Spanish and things. So we have Día y Noche a su disposición. So day and night at your, basically at your beck and call. Not translated all the way correctly. But you know what I mean. And so I wanted to read this one because I know that this is going to be kind of easier to read. You know, Harlequin novels are not like, you know, the highest epitome of you know, literature, but they're very enjoyable and they're still good reading, and reading is reading. But in this one, we're following, of course, a businessman, some rich guy, of course, and assuming some sort of arranged relationship or marriage or something, some sort of contract or deal. Very typical for these books. But I figured since I was wanting to practice my Spanish and these happen to be at the library in Spanish, this was the perfect opportunity to pick this up and read it. And it also matches my prompt for this month, so that's awesome. So those are all of my cards. Romance, which is going to be that book. Horror novel. My nonfiction. I'm not done. Number 4. Nonfiction book is actually going to be my audio book for the month. I like to do a nonfiction on audio because it's just a little bit less boring for me. I'm just being honest. And for the month of April, I'm hoping to hop into this book called Born for Love, Why Empathy is Essential and Endangered by Bruce D. Perry. And I actually got this as a suggestion from some professional development we did at my school, and so I really want to get into this book and see what it's all about. Basically, it can really help me as a teacher, kind of understanding traumas and things that students might go through, as well as just in general people that might go through, and you know, talking about empathy and love and all of these different things. And Bruce D. Perry, I've heard this author before. I think he wrote a book with Oprah as well, which I think I have on my TBR, which is similar topic about like trauma and things. So I want to be able to really understand my students more, and I really want to do some more sort of like professional development within education type things with my reading as well, if that makes sense. So like reading things on education, reading things on like the psychology of what can happen to people in general, not just kids, not just students, so that I can better understand my students and as well better serve them as a teacher. So hopefully that makes sense. But yes, so that's my nonfiction pick for the month of April and for my challenge here. Wow, I feel like I've been talking forever. And I totally messed up part of this video when I did the card wrong. But that's okay. We're still going to have fun with this. I'm excited for this. Maybe I'll do this again for May. This was fun. I really enjoyed this, or something different. I don't know. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Down below, hit that little red button. You know what it is. And I will check you guys out in the next video very, very soon. Stay safe.